Alright guys, welcome to this installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is very breezy out here, so I hope the audio is coming out on my phone. It figures every time that I come out here to film a video, I get stuck with the breeze. So hopefully it's not too bad. I didn't think it was going to be this breezy today. It may even rain. It wasn't supposed to be rain in the forecast. But guys, I'm standing here with my 2001 Pontiac Aztek GT, and it just looks a lot better not being in the driveway. I'll tell you that much. So yesterday was the very first day that we got this thing on the road after it's sitting in my driveway in pieces from time to time. It's been sitting in my driveway since late January of 2018, and the thing hadn't moved up until just a few weeks ago when I finally had to replace at least the front shocks and whatnot, and then I was able to actually turn it around in the driveway and do work to the back end, but for the majority of my ownership of this car so far, it has been sitting. This is only the second day that I've had it on the road. And today I'm going to tell you what I have learned about this Aztek after driving it for one day. But first, a lot of you guys may be wondering, why did I want to buy a Pontiac Aztek to begin with? Well, if you guys have not been following my history with cars on the channel and whatnot, this is technically my second Pontiac Aztek. I had one in 2007. I had it up until 2011, and I had to give it up, unfortunately, because I had transmission problems with it. Gears 1 to 2, the shift in between there started to get really bad, as if it were going into neutral before it would shift into second. And at the time, I just didn't have the financial means to have the transmission repaired. It was a lot easier for me to actually just buy another car. So I bought my 08 Grand Prix and got rid of my 03 Pontiac Aztek. But guys, I have loved the Aztek even before we did, I bought this one, I bought the last one. I have been a huge fan of these things ever since I was 13, and that's how old I was when Pontiac released it. I was 12 when they released the concept vehicle, which does look better than this one. But guys, I don't think that there was anything wrong with the way that this Aztek looks. It's just a vehicle that was always unique for its time, and they're starting to come back now. I mean, people are now really, there are a lot of people who are fascinated with the Aztek, and partially I'm sure to blame is the whole Breaking Bad thing. Walter White had an Aztek, and I think that that's kind of what brought the Aztek back into existence to a lot of people. But me, I've always been a fan of it way before the Breaking Bad stuff. So for me to have the opportunity to buy another one, I just wanted to have it, basically. I just wanted one to kind of collect, and I just to have, because honestly, I missed it. I really missed my first Aztek. I wish I didn't have to give it up, but that was then, and this is now. Now, when I was looking for a Pontiac Aztek, I wasn't looking for one in this rough of shape. You may be thinking, well, it doesn't look bad. It really doesn't. Cosmetically, this thing is not bad. I still have to have the side cladding painted to match the bumpers because, well, for some odd reason, only the side plastic fades, and the bumpers, the front and rear bumpers don't fade at all for some reason, but all the side plastic does. Very, very little rust on the actual paint. Got a couple of rust bubbles here by the gas tank. This is a common thing here. I got a little bit of bubbling up at the very edge of the hood on the one part. And of course, when you open these doors, the inner door wells are rotted out. That's also a very common thing. Will I replace those? I'd like to, but I don't know when. But needless to say, when I was looking to buy another Aztek, I didn't intend on buying one in this rough of shape. The point was for me to buy one that was cheap, but also one that I could drive home right away. And this thing was far from driving home right away. In the summer of 2017, I tried to buy a 2004 Pontiac Aztek. It was tan or champagne beige metallic. It had the tan interior, but it was also a very base model. I think by 2004, Pontiac wasn't really throwing a whole lot of options into the tech because, well, they were probably getting ready to face the fact that they were going to phase it out, a year later. So, but I looked at an 04, and unfortunately the finances just weren't there. I couldn't do it, so I had to pass on the opportunity. And then I also was very interested in a 2005 Pontiac Aztek Rally, which also I could not do. So that ship sailed. And then there was another Aztek that I looked at. I actually looked at quite a few Azteks, guys. I don't know if I ever really mentioned it. I looked at one. Guy wanted $1,000 for it. I think it was either an 02 or an 03, if I'm not mistaken, but it was in really rough shape also. I mean, you could drive it, but it was missing buttons everywhere. It was filthy. It just was not, I think $1,000, to be honest with you, was way too much for the condition of that car. So definitely passed on that one, was not interested. And then I looked at one, I think it was either an 04 and 05. It was a later Aztek. I want to say 05 because it was silver, but it wasn't that. It was like a newer silver. It was a silver not offered on earlier Aztecs. So I think it was, I want to say an 05. Had it like 100 and some thousand miles on it, and it was from a private dealer. But I didn't trust. I didn't trust this person, to be honest with you, and I just passed on that one. But then I was going to give up, and I remember looking at Facebook Marketplace, and I saw this one earlier that summer in 2017. This was being sold by a couple who are a little over an hour from where I am. And I think they originally wanted $700 for it, and they had 2 pictures up of it, and I was like, wow, that's, I would like to have this one because, I love this color. I love the fact that, it looked nice, but there really weren't a whole lot of details with it. I think the only thing that they said was it needed the head gasket. So I was like, I don't want to do the work, and I decided to kind of put that idea away. But then in January of 2018, I saw this up for sale on the Facebook Marketplace again, and they lowered the price to $400. And then it was like, wow, that is really, really cheap. I know for sure I could do that. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to do the head gasket work. So just, for giggles, I decided to get in contact with the people who were selling it. We messaged back and forth. They gave me a couple of other details and pictures of the tech, and I'm pretty sure a day later I drove to go look at it to see what it looked like. Now, at the time, it was in their yard. They said it hadn't been running because of the head gasket issue. It was covered in snow because we had a bad snow, and I looked it over, and it was getting kind of dark, so I couldn't really see everything. But when I saw it in person, when I saw the inside and saw all of the features that it had, it's a GT, so it's got, the 6-disc CD changer, dual zone climate controls, the driver information center, sunroof. I think these are the hang glide seats. I'm not 100% sure at this time what the name of the seats are, but it was a different fabric from what I had seen on a lot of the later Azteks. My first Aztek didn't have the same fabric seats, so it was like I was excited, and I decided to jump on this one, not necessarily knowing how much more laid beneath the surface of what was really wrong with it. So $400, and we towed it home, and it sat in my driveway since January of 2018. Now, throughout the years, the last couple of years, you know, I've tried to get this thing fixed as fast as I could, but, you know, I put a lot of this stuff on credit cards that I'm still trying to pay off. So, you know, I didn't have all of the means, all the funds to just dive right in and fix this right away. This was a very, very long process for me to do to get it to where it is today, and several thousands of dollars later on a $400 car, which some people may look at as, you know, a complete waste of money. But at the same time, you know, if I wanted to buy, you know, an 01 Aztek that actually ran and had all of the problems that I had repaired on mine, if those were non-existent issues on one that I was, you know, looking to buy anyway, then I was going to spend maybe $2 or $3 grand on a tech, you know. So I don't really consider it to be a loss. I really am happy with this investment, because the car was only $400. If I had paid, you know, $3 grand to begin with the car, and then I had to dump another $3 grand to getting it fixed or whatnot, then yeah, then it's like, okay, that's frustrating. But I only paid $400 for it, and I dumped a couple $1,000s into it, which real soon I'll make a video describing what I had to do to this thing to get it to where it is today, everything that we have replaced on it, how much it costs, and where I'm sitting financially with it. We'll have a video on that coming up soon. I gotta dig up some more receipts and stuff recently that I just kept throwing around. It does lead me to wonder, though, all the stuff that I had to replace, especially recently, like the shocks and stuff, and just some other things that I'm noticing just in the one day that I've been driving it. I don't understand how the last owners of the car have driven it in the shape that it was in beforehand. This thing was in god-awful shape when I got it. And even now, there are still bugs that have to be figured out, but, you know, we finally got it to the point now where it obviously can move on its own. So that's where we are today, guys. From January, I think, 20th. It's at January 20th of 2018, and yesterday was September 25th, 2019. So that's how long it sat with me. And tell you what, I am extremely happy with how it is right now. I'm actually really surprised at how it is. As a matter of fact, yesterday when I got I had to go get the plates for this thing, and I had to go get a battery. But guys, you know, I took my Fusion obviously to get the plates and stuff. And after I got the plates and parked the Fusion for the day, I drove this thing for the rest of the day. You know, I made the video yesterday on the very first drive, and after I was done with the video, you know, when my wife got home from work, we took it to go get dinner. We took it to my in-laws to look at. I mean, we drove this to do errands. Yeah, it's done fairly well. Now, granted, I only put, I think we're just a little over 40 miles on it. So I put 40 miles on it already. And so far, I mean, I know that's really not enough to tell, you know, exactly how long the thing may last or whatnot. But so far in those 40 miles, it really has been issue-free. And like I said, I'm really surprised at how the car is actually behaving. And I didn't expect it to drive and ride as good as it is. I'm extremely happy with how it is at this time. But like I said at the very beginning of the video, there are a couple of things that I have learned about this just in the 40 miles that I've driven it. And of course, there are things that we're probably going to have to sort out. Luckily for me, though, there was only two things that I've discovered about the car. The very first thing that I noticed, and it was captured on the video yesterday if you watched it or didn't watch it, but I noticed, you know, getting about half a block away from my house, the brake warning came on the cluster, and of course the annoying chime just constantly sounds. Whenever the brake light comes on and you have the chime that sounds, it could be one of two things. number one, you're low on brake fluid and the car is telling you to not drive the car, obviously. Number two, it could be that the parking brake is engaged, and it's telling you to, release the parking brake so you don't do any damage. I checked the fluid, I went back home, checked the reservoir, and we have brake fluid, we have brake pressure. The message center didn't even say that the brake fluid was low. So I had a feeling it was not the reservoir. My first assumption was the parking brake is maybe stuck. So I tried messing with the parking brake pedal. I even disconnected the parking brake pedal, the actual switch for the light, and it still came on. So we also have an ABS light, ABS and traction light, and that has been on ever since I brought the car home. Those have been on since I brought the car home. I had an OBD2 scanner, scanned it when I had it, and there was a code for a wheel sensor, speed sensor, and it was coming from this wheel. So I have a feeling that it is related to this wheel, and that we're gonna have to replace this hub. That wheel sensor here may be reading speeds so low compared to the other wheels, it may think that the parking brake is on and the wheel is slightly dragging or something. But unfortunately, there's nothing that I can do about that right now. It seems to be driving okay. I don't really notice any noise. There's a lot of noises because the brakes were all rusty and corroded. So the rust is still coming off of that stuff. And but nothing really, I was trying to listen for maybe some thumping noises or something that's grinding. That's how you can usually tell if a wheel bearing's bad. But eventually, because we have the code and I had a feeling I was going to have to do it anyway, we're going to have to replace this left rear wheel bearing. The speed sensors, I do believe, are integrated with that wheel bearing. So when you replace the bearing, you also replace the speed sensors, and that should reset the ABS and hopefully this brake light. If it's not that stuff, then honestly, I don't know what it is. But the last people who had this car had to have been driving it with that same warning going off all the time, because when I had the car off the ground, or the tires, and I was checking to see if the transmission was going to move, I let the wheels spin. We got up to some speeds, and it didn't do it. So I know it has to be related to the rear wheel that is over here, and that's kind of where we sit with that. So it really isn't all that bad. You get kind of after a while, you honestly just get used to the noise. I've been turning the stereo up. I always drive with loud music anyway, especially with this 10-speaker Pioneer system. So you don't even notice it. It just kind of turns into a noise. My wife, after a while, when she was sitting in here, she didn't even notice it. So I think over time, it just kind of becomes a white noise and you just don't notice it anymore. So I think that's, it doesn't seem to be affecting really how the car is driving or anything like that. So at this time, I'm still driving with the annoying warning. And eventually, we'll replace the hub, hopefully maybe within a month or two. Now that I can drive it, we could probably drive it to my friend's place, and it's an airport hangar, so if I do it in the winter, we can get it out of the actual elements, and I can fix it indoors instead of, in the driveway. So that is something that we're going to have to take care of. But other than that was just a little thing. But the second thing that I learned about this car, as of yesterday, is when we were going to my in-laws, we had to take a road that was faster than 40 miles an hour. So when I took it on its first drive, I got it up to about 40 miles an hour. And from there, everything seemed to be completely fine. But once I was trying to get 45 and up, I noticed that we do not have a fourth gear in this transmission. It was not shifting into fourth gear or overdrive at all. It wasn't even trying to. So, we don't have a fourth gear in the transmission for some reason. And I think I know why. I found out, and I never knew this, but the transmissions that are in a lot of GM cars from this time period, the 4T 4T60E and the 4T65E. I can never remember which one the Aztek has. Maybe the 65, I think. I don't know. But anyway, I found out that the fourth gear in those transmissions, they have a tendency to kind of shave themselves to nothing. I never knew that. So basically, I forget what they called it. It's like a shaft. It's like a fourth gear clutch shaft or something like that. But there are splines on the end of it that, are for fourth gear. And apparently they didn't make that particular piece out of a hardened steel or something at this time. So the spline, they shave themselves to a flat surface, and obviously the transmission's got nothing to grab onto when it needs to go into fourth gear. So I'm going to assume that is why I don't have a fourth gear, which means the car cannot be driven faster than like 40 miles an hour, or else there's a chance that I could potentially damage the transmission and damage this already abused and neglected 3400 under the hood. I honestly don't want to do that. I mean, it's fine when it's driving on the city or, in the city and whatnot. But I found out I can't take it anywhere over 45 at this time. Now, I don't know when I'm going to fix that. Right now, like I said, it doesn't seem to be a big deal to me. I'm just not going to take this, obviously, where I know I have to go faster than, 45 miles an hour or 40. And that's not a big deal to me. I'm really surprised that the rest of the transmission is actually shifting perfectly fine. It is flawless. I'm not getting any hard shifts whatsoever. And I was kind of worried about that because I didn't know what the condition of the transmission was going to be when I brought it home. All the lines and stuff were leaking, of course, so I couldn't do anything with it. I got it to move a little bit when we brought it home, just to get it in and out of the spot, to park it permanently at the time. But I just don't know, I was really concerned about what the transmission was going to be like. And it's, like I said, it is really, really good right now. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm really pleased. I'm really happy with how it's acting. I'm just really surprised. So what do you got to do to get this fourth gear replaced on this transmission? Well, it doesn't seem to be that bad. You have to open up the side of the transmission. You take off the cover, you take off a couple of wiring harness from there, a couple of little things like for the parking paw and, just little things like that. You take off the valve body and I think a clutch shield. I think you can take that off as one. And then it's right there. You pull it out. It's literally just right there. It's not that hard to get to once you actually have the transmission opened up. It's getting to the side of the transmission that's going to be the issue. You got to take the wheel off. You got to take the whole axle off. You got to disconnect the steering shaft for the steering wheel to the rack. You got to disconnect that. You have to drop this side of the engine cradle, and that is how you can access the side of the transmission. You have to lower the cradle toward the ground, and that's how you get to it. So, we've come this far with it. I'm up for the challenge to do it. I don't have all the supplies to do it, but again, I could probably use my friend's airport hangar. It's definitely something that it can be done in a day possibly, but it's going to be like an all-day thing. There's a lot of stuff that you got to take off. So for me, it'd probably be like, hey, once I get it opened and get the thing out, then I'm gonna maybe call it quits for the day and come back the next day and put it all back together. So I don't know. I'm not gonna worry about that. Maybe in the spring, we'll see how it gets through winter and stuff like that. But that's the only other thing that I've noticed with it. That's literally the only thing that I've noticed with it at this time. Now let's get to the good stuff, because not only did I learn those issues just in the one day of driving it, but I learned a lot more good things about the car just from driving it for one day, and I want to share that stuff with you also. Like I already mentioned, the transmission, other than the fact that it does not have a fourth gear right now, this transmission is acting really good, and I'm really happy with how it's acting. I'm actually more surprised. I was expecting problems with it, and hey, you know, there still could be problems that are going to show up. I don't know, but right now it's doing good. It's leaving a good impression so far. So the transmission at this time, other than, you know, no fourth gear, it's good. The engine itself, I'm not getting any weird noises. I'm not getting any knocking, no ticking. The power that it's delivering, I mean, I haven't given this thing full beans yet. Obviously, I do not want to end up throwing the transmission or engine quite yet. But you know, I've you know, given it some pretty moderate acceleration here and there, and it's like all the power is there. It feels just like, you know, my Aztek doesn't feel like it doesn't want to go anywhere. It'll go. I mean, for, you know, it's 185 horses, it'll go. It's probably not making that much. You know, obviously it's old, but I can't complain. It doesn't feel sluggish. It's good. So I'm really surprised that the engine is as good a shape that it's in, considering it was a complete disaster when I opened it up. It was all sludged. The head gaskets obviously took a toll, you know, in the engine. You know, we got seafoam in it now, and it's ready to come out. I gotta get this oil changed real soon. But you know, it's doing really well. Again, I don't want to jinx it, but you know, I'm just surprised that it's running and driving, or, you know, giving as much power as it is for sitting for so long. And me having the engine apart, even, you know, tearing it down to the block and cleaning everything and rebuilding it, and I'm really proud. I'm not gonna lie, that was the first time I ever had an engine apart, and it's running and it's powerful, and I'm actually really happy that has worked out. So I don't really want to toot my own horn, but I am extremely proud of the aspect that I got this engine to function the way that it should. So yeah, the engine's good. Handles, you know, I'm not getting any weird handling issues. It's not pulling. It does maybe need an alignment because we changed the front struts, we changed the back shocks, but it is driving and handling very well. The ride, you know, like I said, we got new suspension components up here. The ride feels like factory. It's not bouncing. It's firm, but it's not jittery. I mean, it feels just like an Aztek should. And the one thing that the Aztek was always good for is its ride quality. And I feel like that is what I'm getting from the suspension parts that I put on here, is the ride quality. I bought some Monroe OE Spectrum struts and shocks for this thing. They were not the economy ones when I bought them. These are the suspension parts that are supposed to be to OEM spec, and I honestly feel like that's what I'm getting. So of course they still need time to settle. They've only got 40 miles on them at this time, but I don't see anything wrong with how the car is handling and riding right now. It's even quiet. I mean, you know, of course you get the ding 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 with my brake warning, and my music and such, but if all that is off, you know, the car is still really quiet. The engine is actually really smooth. You don't feel any vibration when it's at idle, which is good, because I had it running smooth, and then I ran it out of gas one day in the driveway, and then it ran like poo. But I think it's good now. We're finally maybe cleaning all that crud out of there because we put some gas in it. And yeah, it's like I said, I mean, I'm just overall surprised at how well this thing is, and I'm extremely happy that this is the route that we took with this. Extremely happy. I'm sorry for all the lawnmower noises, guys. The guy is getting closer out here with the lawnmower and stuff. But I think you know, I don't really have anything else to really say at this time. You know, I'm overall, really happy that this so far has really worked out, and I'm extremely happy with how this car is performing at this time, and I hope that it stays, it stays performing in a positive way. And I know there's going to be other things that are probably going to come up. I'm sure eventually we're going to need a fuel pump or a starter. Hopefully we don't have to change the rack and pinion. We've already got to, do some transmission work probably in a few months. Wheel hubs, just stuff like that. But that's okay. I mean, I feel like a lot of the majority of the mechanics that actually keep this thing on the road, I feel like I have already taken care of all those. The engine was, at least the entire top half was freshly rebuilt, cleaned, new gaskets, everywhere. We got our new radiator. Transmission does have a new filter and fluid in it. We got the new shocks and struts for the front and rears. We do have a tie rod that we replaced on this side. I mean, I feel like a lot of the majority of the parts that keep the car on the road and running have already been done. So from here on out, I feel like it should just be like a walk in the park. With the exception of lowering the cradle and stuff to getting to the inside of the transmission. So yeah, I am extremely happy with how this turned out. And, it was frustrating. There were a lot of times where I was frustrated with how things were going. And there were a lot of times where I was seriously thinking on just giving up this car. But I knew I couldn't. I needed to finish what I started, and here we are. So a lot of people have already asked me, am I going to keep the car? Am I going to sell the car? I'm not selling it. Honestly, the last place that I want this car to go to when I'm done with it is, the scrapyard, because I want to drive this thing, honestly, until I can't drive it no more. And it's something that I just want to keep. I want to hold on to it. I really like it. So I put a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money into it. So I want to get what I can out of it, and when it's ready to go, then we're gonna maybe sell it to you pull it, or we'll do something to it. But I honestly feel like I should be the last owner of the car. I don't know. I think that's all that I've got, guys. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. That was basically everything that I've learned in just driving this car for one day. I'll probably drive it around a little more today, but the gas gauge don't work. So I put gas in it, but the gauge is kind of leaning more toward empty. So I think it's kind of right, but I don't think it's 100% right. So just gotta be cautious with it. But I'll drive it around for a little bit today, and we'll see if anything new comes up. Hopefully not. Hopefully better things come up, but that's all that I've got. But yeah, that's it. So if you guys enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or check out teespring.com/stores/Mike's Vehicle Spotlight for all of your MVS and vlog merchandise. I'm also wearing my Vlog Tech shirt. This is the shirt that Teespring wouldn't let me sell after I ordered mine, the only one that it was ever sold, because of copyright issues. So I'm not sure. I released some new Aztek shirts in my store featuring the same picture, but it just says Mike's Vehicle Vlogs across it, and it says the most Aztek friendly YouTube channel or something like that. So it's the same picture. You can get the same color and whatnot. So if you were interested in this particular shirt, check out my Teespring store, and you can see the other designs that I have with it if you're still interested. So guys, I think that's all that I've got. I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.